Hello, everybody. Welcome to this week's live podcast broadcast of This Week in Science. We are into the holiday season, and so I have brought the festive mood. I'm glad that you're here. I'm all on my own tonight. There's a lot going on in the land of Blair and of Justin. Wait, do I have a text that I haven't responded to? Most likely. Oh, look here. We have a text. Justin is very busy. That's what he says. Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining us. I hope you had a wonderful Thanksgiving week for those of you who are in the U.S. For those of you who are elsewhere, I hope you had a great week. No matter what week it was, I hope it was great. And it's time for the show, right? So this is when I say this is when we have the podcast broadcast that if I do something wrong, hopefully it will get edited out by our wonderful editor, human editor, Rachel, and that you will hear just the best version of this show when you listen to it as a podcast. But otherwise, you're here with me. This is it, everybody. What you see is what you get. Yeah. Yes, this week in solo. This week in solo science. But you know, it's science so much better when it's collaborative. So I'm leaning on all of you this week. Those of you in the chat room, hi. Thanks for joining. And I look forward to the conversations that we have tonight. As David is saying in the chat, portrait mode. Yes, I have now figured out we can broadcast in landscape or portrait. So now that there's landscape, we may just be also reaching out to a live broadcast on Instagram every once in a while. That could be fun, right? Could be. I don't know. Well, I have exchanged my jam jar for a larger glass this week. All right. At least we do. I have you. At least. Oh my gosh, it's the most. I'm so glad to see you all. I hope you are all ready for the science I have brung. So, we ready to start the show? Because we will begin this show in look, I soloed myself from a situation in which I was already solo. I don't have to do multiple camera angles at least this week. That's going to make that a little bit easier. Maybe. Maybe. All right. Yes. Paul, are you ready to start this show? So let us begin in a 3, 2. This is TWIS. I know that was different. This Week in Science, episode number 1040, recorded on Wednesday, December 3rd, 2025. What's in a name? Hey everyone, I'm Dr. Kiki, and tonight on the show, we will fill your head with redhead problems, cat companions, and some battery battering. But first, disclaimer. What is in a name? That which we call a rose by any other name would smell as sweet, right? Right? If we rename a national laboratory to something less functionary, does that change its function? Or does it just make it easier for that function to be altered? Thoughts like this and more on This Week in Science, coming up next. I swear I hit the button. Okay. Let's see. Let's start it again. I hit the button, but it was already enough. Refresh. How do I get it to refresh? Well, that's the thing. Nope.
I've got got the kind of mind that can't get enough. I wanna learn everything, I wanna fill it all up with new discoveries that happen every day of the week. There's only one place to go to find the knowledge I seek. I wanna know what's happening, what's happening, what's happening this week in science. What's happening, what's happening, what's happening this week in science.
Good science, everyone. It's just me, Dr. Kiki, and I'm here with you. Thank you so much for joining us for another episode of This Week in Science. We come here every week, Wednesdays, 8 p.m. Pacific time-ish, to discuss the science news of the week. And this week I'm on my own. There's been a little dust up in the Pagano house, and Justin's still working somewhere else. And so I'm just here with you, me and you. It's just us this week. Kind of good we get some private time, right? It's about time. Anyway, I brought some great stories that I hope that you will enjoy. Mentioned at the top, redhead problems. There are some issues that are related to being a redhead that are kind of interesting. Also, cat companions, where they started in Africa, right? What about China? China had some stuff going on. What's happening with those cat companions? Also, think I honestly found my favorite scientific paper of the year this week, um, and that is the battery battering. But in between that, we've also got a how-to on visualizing science. Like, honestly, this is a great paper for people who need to visualize science, the scientists who need to make figures related to their biomedical or biochemical or what, all of their science. This is a great story for you, and I hope to give you this reference if you haven't found it already. Also, plants, heat, how they work, how they don't. Oh, this is kind of an exciting one also. And we're going to start at the top with some national issues. But first, I do want to say happy Thanksgiving. Thank you. I hope you had a wonderful week. I hope everybody is doing well in this downhill slide toward the shortest day of the year. We're getting there, right? It's getting a little colder in the northern hemisphere. The earth is tilting a little bit more. We've got, that slant that leads to shorter daylight hours, but also more Christmas lights, which is kind of fun. And I kind of like it. So, I found a really great Instagram this week of people, this couple Arduino hacking their LED light strands to get rid of the flicker, because the issue is, unless you're buying, and this is what they say in these videos, which is the important thing, unless you're buying lights that have a capacitor in them to get rid of the flickering, it's not a difficult thing, but there are sensors and there's like a different flow thing. You can't have a simple circuit built as with incandescent lights. And so you get that weird flicker. If you want to get rid of it, you actually can if you add your own extra circuit to take care of making the circuit believe that it has constant flow, even though it is ACing up and down and up and down. Anyway, great video. I will try and share it with you all on my social media on Blue Sky or Instagram. I love these places these days. These are my favorite places to be. Also, what is going on? I don't know. Family's getting over a cold. Things are good. I'm on my own. And science happened. That's right. It is happening. People are asking questions, solving problems, doing all sorts of amazing things. And so I have a few stories. It's not the bulk of the news that came out over the last week. There's so much out there, and I wish I could bring you stories all day, every day, but that's not where we are. And so this is just a smattering. That is an amuse-bouche, yes, of science. If you're interested in the show, you can find us all places podcasts are found as a podcast. You can also find us on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitch. If you would like to see us in the video form, our live stream is there. in perpetuity. After it's done, it's recorded, you can watch it whenever. I also I've been playing with little clips and other, segments to see how those work out, and we'll see how that does, and I think that's pretty much it aside from otherwise going to twis.org, our website, to find the show notes with links to stories and our Patreon link, which is how you can support this show moving forward, and our Zazzle link, which is a way that you can find really cool sciency goodness for yourself and your friends and also support the show at the same time. Okay. I feel like I should ask, is it time? Should we dive in? I know you're there. I see you, chat room. All right, let's dive in. My top story tonight is to do with, from the disclaimer, a story that I ran across through Ars Technica. Dan Garino wrote it from Inside Climate News, and the story is that this was something suggested during the last Trump administration. It didn't happen. However, we have finally seen a renaming of the National Renewable Energy Laboratory in Golden, Colorado, now to the National Laboratory of the Rockies. What does this mean? Like, what does this mean? Nobody knows because ostensibly the the remit and the purview of this national lab that has been around since the 70s in one form or another shouldn't change, should it? However, we do know that this administration is more focused on nuclear, on fusion and fission, and additionally on geothermal, on hydrothermal, and pretty much nothing involving solar or wind, which is what a lot of this lab focused on. Okay, understanding that, this lab got its start in the 1970s. It was established in 74, oh, the year of my birth, as the Solar Energy Research Institute. So it was basically started by Gerald Ford to look for alternatives to oil from the Middle East, which is a fascinating start to this laboratory. Okay, at the time we were going through the oil crisis of the 70s, and then when in the 77s, in 1977, it was located, and they decided that it was going to be a lab there as opposed to elsewhere. So it was started in 74 and it was established, but then 77 it was like the location is actually in Golden, Colorado. 1991 is when it was initiated into the National Laboratory Network. And this was George H.W. Bush who did that, a Republican. There were budget cuts, layoffs. There were other issues that occurred during different congressional terms, and presidential terms. So Reagan was in office, and it suffered a cut then. But across administrations for decades, it has had a pretty clear remit that has allowed it to be an international leader in renewable and sustainable energy. So, this National Renewable Energy Laboratory, now the National Laboratory of the Rockies, I don't even know what that means now. And what's it going to do? Who knows? Nobody knows, right? Does this mean that this beautiful rose that has been growing in Golden, Colorado, will no longer be a rose, that it will be modified to be an eggplant or some other, I don't know, very different species? We have no way of knowing what's going to happen. At this point in time, the rhetoric is that there is no change to occur and that the renaming reflects the Department of Energy's renewed focus on energy addition rather than prioritization of specific energy sources. So it hasn't been taken out of the national labs network. It's still a national lab. There's somehow a broader vision for the lab's energy research, but we don't know what that is because they're not saying what's going to happen there. They haven't said anything about whether or not programs or staff are going to be cut. But we do know that the work at that lab is not favored by this administration. So we'll see what is to be and how that impacts an already shaky footing for the United States as pertains to our, ability to lead in energy and renewability. So anyway, we don't just get Coors beer from Golden, Colorado, Fada. No. We also got a lot of stuff related to solar and wind power. Yeah, some great stuff. It's so good. It's so good. Additionally, this week, another study that um, was published in the where it was published. It was the New England Journal of Medicine. It's not a study. It is a letter calling out the FDA's chief medical and scientific officer. Um, Last Friday, Vinay Prasad emailed a memo that got leaked. And this is also on Ars Technica this week, written by Beth Mole, who writes a fabulous article on this topic. We'll have a link to that on twist.org. Anywho, Vinay Prasad claimed in this memo that COVID-19 vaccines, and I'm reading this from the Ars Technica article, COVID-19 vaccines have killed 10 children in the United States and announced changes to the way the agency is going to regulate and approve vaccines, including seasonal flu shots. And those changes go from the way that we're currently doing it, which allow for the understanding of accepted viral models of infection and also understanding how the vaccines work. We know flu vaccines have worked very well historically on a yearly and seasonal basis. But Prasad has said that the current framework for updating flu shots is it's insufficient. And he said that we now need to require expensive randomized trials that we know can take long time, months, years for each vaccine update. And so what that would mean for something like COVID or the flu, which is seasonal and not like the MMR or other infectious agents that you get one vaccine and it lasts you for 10 years. In this case, we rely on these vaccines that have yearly annual changes that need so that our vaccine formulas need to be adjusted to keep up with the adaptations and mutations of the viruses themselves. What this means is that vaccine trials will become even more expensive, and vaccines which are not which basically are loss leaders, they don't make money for pharmaceutical companies. These vaccines are going to be more expensive to produce. They're going to take longer to produce, so we won't be able to get them in time. Historically, if we think about the flu vaccine as an example, we can use evidence of the predominant strains in the southern hemisphere to create the vaccines for our northern hemisphere winter, so that the spring flu, which is the fall in the southern hemisphere, can inform our vaccines for the fall. We have 6 months based on that evidence to be able to create the vaccines that we need, and then vice versa. What happens here can inform what will happen in the southern hemisphere, and so they have a chance based on what happens. The testing is so important, right? So that's CDC and all of our state and local public health officials being able to test for what strains are predominant. That's been broken. And now what is happening is this memo, it has not been put in place yet. Nothing has actually happened. This is just a memo that was leaked. And what it means is that if it occurs, then the vaccines are not going to be ready in time for our flu seasons. And this is going to be true for COVID. It'll be true for RSV. It'll be true for any rapidly mutating virus that we are trying to protect ourselves from. In this letter as well, Prasad also states that any any uh, employees of the FDA who disagree with the plans can, quote, submit your resignation letters. Airing concerns or criticisms is seen as unethical and illegal. This is according to the article on Ars Technica. So this letter was leaked, this memo, and a letter of rebuttal was published in the New England Journal of Medicine by 12 previous FDA commissioners. So FDA commissioners who collectively they were in charge of the FDA for over 3 decades. They came together and they said, "What?" And so they published their rebuttal to this memo rebuking Prasad for his uninformed memo and the danger that these changes would cause. The commissioners called the memo troubling. The planned policy changes not coherent. They misrepresent both the science and the regulatory record, especially in the case of the vaccines. And so to actually respond to the supposed 10 children who died from COVID-19. Those are 10 reports that were reported through the VAERS, VAERS, the Vaccine Adverse Effect and Response System. That's a reporting system. It is not an analysis system. And in fact, the FDA and employees the FDA did analyze many of these claims and confirmed that the deaths, while unfortunate, were not caused by the COVID-19 vaccine. So the claim that there were 10 deaths from the COVID-19 vaccine is solely taken from the reporting mechanism and not from the actual analysis of the results. So there's there's a lot that's troubling here. There's a lot. Leaks are of great help to humanity. I actually, I yes, I kind of believe that. So I agree. Which country do you need to visit to get your shots? Well, if you're in the United States, which border are you closer to? Ah, it's interesting because we go to other countries all the time now for lower regulated treatments for things, right? So people are going for plastic surgery, dental care, you know, operations that are less expensive and that are outside of the United States insurance system. And so uh, the same vaccines are going to be in place in Canada, in Mexico, in places where it's either public healthcare system where everybody gets the vaccines completely for free and they're well tested because they haven't gone the route we have taken yet, or someplace like Mexico, or maybe you want to go have a really great vacation in Costa Rica. I mean, I don't know. I am not suggesting anything here. Oh my goodness. We'll see. I honestly wonder. You know, a lot of people don't get the flu shot to begin with because they're like, "Ah, I've had it before. I've had a flu shot here and a flu shot there. Here a shot, there a shot, here a shot." Um, and it just, I've never gotten the flu or whatever, but when you get it, ugh, and if you haven't gotten it, is it because you got the flu shot or you didn't get the flu shot, right? And of course, the vaccine efficiency works at different levels every year because of the prediction mechanisms and how well they work out for us. So generally, it is better for everyone, yourself included, if you can get yourself vaccinated for these seasonal events, unless, of course, you have autoimmune or other disorders that make it an issue for you to get the vaccines. Yeah. I don't know. I wonder where this is going to take us, right? Where are we gonna go? What will it all mean? But now, these are societal problems. I just wanna talk about redhead problems for a second. And this may be bringing us back to a story from, some time ago, but this story, it particularly hit my attention because over Thanksgiving, when I was cooking and doing things, I'm terrible, and I always find a way to get my arms, and I did both arms this year. I s I burn myself. I always burn myself. And the burns last for a little while, they always heal, which is great, and I feel lucky that I am not stuck in a chronic wound situation. Well, some researchers were looking at chronic wounds, and they have published their work in, their perspective in the public, proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences this last November 11th, and additionally, they wrote up a more palatable to the everyman summary in The Conversation, which is a wonderful outlet if you haven't seen it before. The bottom line is that this research team was looking at what's involved in chronic wounds. Why don't they heal? And they found that a molecule that's in the skin called MC1R is disrupted in chronic wounds. MC1R is also known as melanocortin 1 receptor. So this is melanocortin 1 receptor protein if it's a molecule, or gene if it's in the DNA. However, this molecule, melanocortin 1 receptor, is consistently disrupted in chronic wounds. You know what else melanocortin 1 is involved in? Red hair. That's right. Melanocortin 1 is responsible for red hair. Melanocortin 1 is responsible for, oh, yeah, lack of melanin, burning. Melanocortin 1 is also involved in the immune system. People with red hair often have a greater prevalence of Parkinson's disease as well as multiple sclerosis. Thank you, Neanderthal ancestors. Thank you. Thank you so much. Oh my gosh. Yeah. So, my wonderful Neanderthal ancestors gave us an overreactive melanocortin receptor protein, right? They gave us this molecule that does some great work, except in the case of autoimmune disease, it does it too much. And what's going on is that we all have melanocortin 1 receptors, but there are different variations of it. And there are certain variations that lead to red hair and the autoimmune disorders, and others that don't. And so in this particular work, they weren't looking at all the different makeups of the melanocortin 1 receptor protein. But what they did find is that these these wounds, they actually looked at human tissue samples from, they took samples from people with diabetic foot ulcers, venous leg ulcers, and pressure ulcers. But they all were unable to calm inflammation down. So all of the wounds that they look at, all the tissue samples, they had issues with inflammation. And melanocortin 1 receptor would have calmed it down, but it was repressed, and so it wasn't able to work. They looked at mice that had a non-functional version of the MCR1 MC1R, and they had chronic wounds, same features as human chronic wounds. And so then they were like, "Ooh, what are we gonna look at here?" And so they applied a topical drug that targeted MC1R, and healing improved. They had less of that fluid that comes out from wounds. They had increased blood vessel growth, so there's more oxygen supply and nutrients. The skin began to recover. Oof, they got rid of neutrophil, extracellular traps. There was so much great stuff going on. When they applied the drug to a small cut on healthy animals, it did the same thing, and it also reduced scarring. So it's not just the chronic wound, it's blocked situation, and it's not like, oh, where we're talking about if you do crossword puzzles when you're healthy, it's not gonna help your brain, but if you do crossword puzzles when you have dementia, that might help your brain. It's not that kind of situation. This is a molecule that, if it's activated, it can resolve inflammation and allow healing processes to progress. So, how do we target it? And that is their question. And so, what they're saying is that this is a pathway that we need to be targeting all the time. Yep. So, the red hair gene, it's what we need to be focusing on. And I'm hoping that they will get some in time for me to be able to get rid of this burn on my arm. I have so many burn scars, and I did them all myself on accident. I love cooking. We could talk about things that are too hot to handle also, like, the Earth 56 million years ago? So, 56 million years ago, during the Paleocene, Eocene period, temperatures got really, really hot. So, there was a 5 to 6 degrees Celsius global warming that lasted about 200,000 years. It's serious. Like, it's not like, ooh, 10 years, whatever. 200,000 years. It destroyed the biosphere. Like, plants died. Things went wrong. Nothing was happy. So the question is, what does that mean for us today, right? Because people are like, don't worry about carbon dioxide. Plants like carbon dioxide. It's great. We'll survive with human ingenuity and everything being happy. Anyway, these researchers publishing their paper in Nature Communications, open access, so you can read it if you want to. Loss of vegetation functions during the Paleocene Eocene thermal maximum. They found that their reconstructions from model simulations and vegetation reconstructions suggest that warming induced migration and evolutionary adaptation of vegetation were insufficient to prevent a widespread loss of productivity. We conclude that global warming of the magnitude as during the Paleocene Eocene thermal maximum could exceed the response capacity of vegetation systems and cause a long-lasting decline in the efficiency of vegetation mediated climate regulation mechanisms. And so what does that mean? The Amazon is responsible for a significant amount of our oxygenation capacity. The ocean is responsible for a very significant proportion of our oxygenation. As the temperature goes up, and this is okay, let's forget about the carbon dioxide aspect of how that changes pH in the ocean. Let's just talk about the temperature increase. What they said was this, 5 to 7 degrees Celsius temperature shift during that time period. It was fast enough, similar to what's going on now, and it lasted long enough. We don't know what's going to happen. We don't know how long it'll last. We don't know what we've kicked off. It lasted a significantly long period of time and was fast enough that the plants couldn't move to places where they may have reordered ecosystems, because there's a lot of competition that happens in ecosystems to get to the point where, ooh, a new baby sapling can come in and take over, and ooh, and then there's the plants. Ooh, don't forget the insects. What about the birds? Animals that want to eat you. There's a lot that goes on in there. So that was an issue. Plants didn't move. They didn't go, they couldn't find new places, new habitats within the global biosphere fast enough. So large swaths of vegetation were lost. That's not to say all of it was lost. Of course it wasn't. But the amount that would have enabled massive amounts of megafauna to survive also didn't last. So what we're potentially we have to consider the fact that we're at 8 billion people on the planet and rising, and everybody's like, "Yeah, great. Okay, no problem." And we're not talking about we know water's an issue, we know energy's an issue, and all we have is, a narcissist who wants to go to Mars giving us dreams for the future. Humanity's gonna live in AI reconstructions in computer boxes? I don't think so. I don't buy it. And what about people here now? What about the people who live here now who are real and who are not simulations in a computer box? So I think we need to have and not allow fossil fuel companies like COP, was it 23, 31? I don't COP 30. I don't even know how many times they've gotten together now. These conversations that are global in scale, that are essential for understanding where our food is gonna come from. I don't know if you're reading stuff that's out there. There are stories like, we have failures, crop failures. The United States is unable to meet the food needs of all the people in the United States without importing, because we grow so much corn and other staple foods for crops and energy. We also have failing soils. Globally, we have failing soils. And I know people are working on this stuff. We do what we do as humans together. We just have to not let the big rich people tell us what to do and ruin it all for us. I don't want to be a brain in a box. Come on. Do you? No, you don't want to be. Mm-mm. Anyway, I'm not going to talk about that story anymore, because hopefully we can learn from this research also that included sites from the Bighorn Basin, the North Sea, and the Arctic Circle, using fossil pollen to be able to figure out where it moved and how they did some great reconstructions in this story. It's a well done story that deserves more than my pessimism about modern politics to be attached to it. So let's move on to something cozier. You want to talk about cats? I like cats. Do you like cats? So one of my favorite stories this week was kitty cats, because I like cats and they're great. And I haven't shown you enough pictures, so let me share this infographic from this paper that was published in Cell Genomics this week. Researchers were discussing the late arrival of domestic cats to China. After 3,500 years of human leopard cat commensalism. So when we talk about domestic cats and when they became part of human, the human domesticity, cats joined with us, you know, many thousand years ago. So over 1,000 years ago, probably 5,000 years ago or so. But they were not domestic cats, were not recorded in China until like, I don't know, 1,200, 1,300, maybe 1,400 years ago. No, no, I'm sorry. Yeah, 1,400 years ago, I think. These domestic cats, they arrived in China no earlier than 600 CE. But before that, leopard cat DNA has been discovered going back up to like 5,400 years ago. So Chinese populations were hanging out with leopard cats for several thousand years before domestic cats showed up. And in the data record, this is the part that I think is fascinating. There is a several hundred-year gap between the last record of the leopard cats in China, which is just shortly after, 100 CE. So it was at the end of the Qin Han period. And there's several hundred years, what they call the entire Wei Jin period. And I know I'm pronouncing it incorrectly, and I apologize to any tonal language or atonal language speakers out there. But the cats, domestic cats, showed up 1,400 years ago through the Silk Road pathway. So cats, domestic cats, did come out of Africa into the Levant, into Central Asia, down through the Silk Road, through those commerce pathways that humans were trafficking, all sorts of things, into East Asia. But the domestic cats and the leopard cats apparently did not overlap, which is, I think, very interesting. So, what happened to the leopard cats? And that is a huge question because we don't actually know why that massive gap is there. And is it just our our evidence level? Like we just don't have data for that? Or is it something specific that happened during that time period that led to the fact that the cats weren't there for a really long time? Hundreds of years, no cats in China, but they had cats. And then the first cats in China, this is a really fun thing also. The earliest domestic cat in China was fully or partially white. So it had albinism, which again is also it's a recessive trait. So it must have been a very special uh, cat population that did not, it ended up being recessive, right? So it was held by people along the Silk Road, or it was white cat that had been specifically kept white, that that group of cats within the traders was maintained for this special trade they knew what they were going to be doing during the Tang Dynasty. It's a fascinating story. We don't know why. Why the original cats, the original domestic cats after the leopard cats were white, but they were short hair, straight hair, white. Might have been tabby, but it's fascinating. Leopard cats, they came first, long time ago. We love the leopard cats. Kitty, kitty, kitty. And yes, we've had cats living with us for a very, very long time. Kevin Reardon says cats have been leeching off us for a very long time. So true. But then again, they let us pet them, and they're so soft. Can you argue with us? Yeah, I mean, is there any way we can argue about that? I don't know. Additionally, out of Oregon State University this week, and I'm pretty sure it's Oregon State University. There was work looking at how people consider cats, whether they are inside or outside. And they took pictures of cats and they took away the background and they showed people the same cats in an inside environment and the same cats in an outside environment, and then asked people to express to rate how they thought the cats felt. Were the cats happy? Were they not happy? I would like you all to tell me, "Ooh, I wonder if this is something that we can do now." There was oh, maybe it's only for polls, for webinars. There's something I saw recently through StreamYard that suggests that we can do polls, and I haven't seen how to do that yet. So I'll figure that out if we can do it. But yeah, nope, I cannot do a poll. I could do a QR code. I'm not ready for that one. Yep. Background music sounds. Um, Video clips and overlays, but I don't have polls. Okay. Rachel, I hope you cut that little excerpt out there. However, the study determined, am I going to see comments from everyone? I was taking a little break. We have cats should not be outside off leash. But that doesn't say whether or not inside cats or outside cats are happier. Which ones have more positive emotions, inside cats or outside cats? I agree, cats should not be outside off leash. I'm there as well. I'm gonna wait for 5 more seconds. Patrick, who doesn't want them outside off leash, says that they're happier inside. Okay, and I'm gonna comment on this in a moment. Anybody else? Do, 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 do. Oh, wait, do I have that music? I did have sound effects. No. Paul Disney says, inside? Kevin is still looking for the poll because I couldn't find the poll. Nobody can find the poll. I think inside. All right. So Patrick is saying inside animals have less to fear, so are less stressed. Now, I find this very interesting because I would have the same thought. And so David Nevin here is saying some cats relish being outside. I think it's important to think about these different viewpoints. Does a cat relish being outside because it's just been allowed to be outside whenever it wants to be there? Does a cat love being inside because that's where it's safe and it's just easy to be there and that's where food is? No matter whether somebody thought cats should be allowed to go outside or should be kept inside, the majority of respondents to this survey by the researchers determined that most everybody thought the cat seemed happier inside. And this again is based on pictures of cats with randomized backgrounds. So the psychology of this, I think, is very interesting. I think it may be displacement of people onto cats because people feel safer inside. They also believe that their animals feel safer inside. And so you would think that the cat who is the same cat on an inside background or an outside background, of course, randomized across, trials. I think that aspect of the study is fascinating because it's less about how cats feel and more about how humans feel, regardless of their feelings about where cats should be allowed to roam, which I think it's fascinating. Now I want to know whether humans can really tell what cats think. We can't. We try. We've learned about the slow blink. We know how to talk to our cat babies, but we don't really know how they feel. They purr for us, but those purrs might just be for them. Mm. Anyway, I thought that was a really fun study. I don't have a link for it right now, and I will try and get one before, I don't know, before you head over to twist.org. All right, 2 more stories really fast. This study is for the scientists in the group. For those of you who need to make biomedical data into figures for a paper. So, are you working in biomedicine involving microbes or health or, any number of things? This research group publishing in PLOS One this last week published uh, their framework for evaluating biomedical figures and benchmarking visualization platforms. And so they have developed what they call MEDVIS, metrics for evaluation and discretion of biomedical visuals using an iterative scoring algorithm. Anyway, what it does is it is quantified and systematized to assess figure quality on the criteria of complexity, color usage, white space, and the number of distinct visualizations. This is great. Oh my gosh, what's going on here? What I think is amazing before I talk about, what they want you to use, because really I think what they're doing is trying to they're trying to introduce their platform for omics, like visual omics data, and that is called SpatioView, blah, blah, blah. If you don't wanna advertise, put it in a scientific journal. But this group, what I think is great is they analyzed, this is why I wanna talk about this particular study, is they analyzed and gave a beautiful image related to the sub areas of science and the tools that are commonly used in these different areas for data analysis and visualization. And in the first image from the study, they section biomedical data into 5 different groups: immunology, microbiology, bioinformatics, biomedical research, and pharmacology. And they suggest that the tools that are involved in the data analysis, that there are particular criteria that are necessary in the data that is being used that leads to the visualization tools. So you have pretty much everything. You have bioinformatics, microbiology, biomedical research, being able to use Java, Python, and Excel to look at sequencing data, taxonomic markers, phylogeny, feature summaries, visualizations, genome maps, machine learning. You've got all sorts of stuff going in. And then you have Tableau and MATLAB. And then immunology and pharmacology additionally can make use of R and looking at antibody databases and drug design. There's a whole bunch of stuff that's involved in here. And as they're looking at these different platforms, we have visualization tools like Tableau, Dundas, Jupyter Python, Zoho, Google Charts, blah, 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 all IBM Watson. It goes on and on and on. And they compared financial cost to required knowledge, ease of use, and customizability. And I don't think anybody's really done this before for all of these different platforms. Moving forward from this, they came up with customizability and ease of use scores and then compared these different platforms for what they are capable of. And it's just jumped out to me that high charts, fusion charts, pretty much, yeah, chart blocks, Microsoft, and that's pretty much it that were the high scoring. Okay, we've got IBM Watson and Sisense as well, maybe Raw, but everything else was customizability and ease of use completely diverged. Tableau has high ease of use, but very low customability. Um, we have Chart.js. It has higher customizability, but low ease of use. Sigma, they're both about the same, but they're both very low, which I thought was, yeah, made sense. So I think in these kinds of this kind of analysis is really neat because what it's done is taken a deep look at the process of making science easier to digest and trying to figure out exactly how to create a system that makes that make more sense. And so that is where their platform comes from and what they're creating. And so within what they've created, which is fantastic using white space, color, like all these good aspects of design, they're starting to create a real sense of, you know, a system that can be actually quantified and scored and presented to people so that you can see what is good, what is bad, what worked, what didn't, and why. And I think this is going to be something that's very helpful for the communication of science within scientific literature and beyond. Anyway, I think it's kind of awesome. If you use one of these platforms, I'd love to know what you think about this study and, how you feel about this. Anyway, here's my last story for the night. You ready? No jazz cats. It's not jazz cats. It's battery battering. That's right. I'm going to batter you with batteries this evening. And honestly, I went into looking at this paper thinking, okay, it's another paper about an a tiny incremental improvement on batteries that was never going to be seen in the real world. I went into it and I was like, okay, another battery story. All right, or whatever. They're using milk this time, whatever. Because, you know, this particular study, the catch is that they're using off the shelf ingredients to improve zinc oxide, zinc alkaline aqueous battery performance. Well, it is such a smackdown on all of the public people publishing battery research and not doing it well. The wording they use in this study is just straight up, it pulls no punches, and I have never seen a paper like this before. It is a commentary, so that is a little bit less formal than other papers. A commentary in Jewel this last week. The abstract is also weird because it basically is the bios for three of the professors, which is a little odd. I guess they needed to put their creds up front before they started smacking people down. The first sentence: we will refrain from the customary preamble about renewable energy and the promise of advanced materials for aqueous batteries. And it goes on, and they say one could envision researchers searching for unclaimed materials, perhaps an unusual fruit peel. They did not reference that, but I honestly think that it is a reference to something else as the basis for the next quote unquote game-changing additive with a familiar workflow. Apply a published protocol, assign a complex formula style designation to the product, and voila, another publication-worthy material is born. Minor variations of common recipes can thus yield numerous nominally new materials under similar design principles. And a recent editorial that they do reference, they say, describes this aspect of varying common recipes and adding nominally new materials as sandwiching. And that's something that they're calling it, this new term, sandwiching, where the sandwiching is that there's a buttress within the predominant material of the electrolyte of the zinc oxide material. So anyway, the big thing they call out is a recent paper, which was a tongue-in-cheek demonstration using bird poop, which I think we talked about on TWIS, as a performance enhancer for batteries. So in the research, they showed that when they added bird droppings to carbon materials, then there was improved electrocatalytic activity. Woohoo! So maybe you need, Anyway, they say there's little justification for complex multi-step doping when even bird droppings work just as well. So why does it need to be complex? Why blah, blah, blah. And so they're trying to create an ad absurdum or a uh, I guess an analytical argument here where we put the aqueous battery zinc alkaline system with the obvious electrode zinc oxide as the major component, and they don't vary that. But then add additives: milk powder, cocoa, cumin, instant coffee, cat food, and chili. They also added current collectors, including animal bone, kelp seaweed, and beef. And then for electrolytes, they didn't add electrolytes. I was like, what? Did you not see Idiocracy? They tried adding tea, milk, and coffee. Almost everything made it work a little better, which is the point of this entire situation, which is their question. If everything makes it work better, does anything work at all? And I think this is it's just a fabulous demonstration of it's not a fluke, or these little tiny additives that never work at scale, that never get past small scale laboratory instances or publication instances, that these things are great for publications. And they actually call this out in the discussion of their paper, basically saying, we're not calling out those of you who are being very upfront with what you understand to be happening. But those of you who are not talking about this, who are leaving it unsaid, you're the bad guys who are adding noise to our field, and you are getting in the way of improvements in battery technology. So really, this is a call out saying that their field needs to sit down and come up with better ways of analyzing and assessing whether or not papers are viable, whether or not studies are viable, because right now the way that it's working is that it's not working, because as they say, under such permissive conditions, everything works can become a self-fulfilling outcome. Incremental tweaks may all appear beneficial, not because they meaningfully advance the chemistry, but because the system already guarantees a respectable level of performance. In this context, the sandwiching approach fits neatly in, producing a steady stream of publications with seemingly impressive but largely incremental improvements more akin to assembly line variations than to genuine materials innovation. And they end the paper by saying that researchers should be judicious about what we credit for performance gains. More broadly, our demonstration echoes concerns that have been raised in the energy storage field about the proliferation of incremental claims and overemphasis on accumulating impressive results. Hello, our publication problem, combined with chasing incremental improvements, can lead to diminishing returns in actual knowledge. If almost everything works, is it truly for the reasons reported? That is what we need to care about. I freaking love this paper. This paper It made me happy to read a science paper again. This paper is the kind of paper that these are researchers sitting back and taking a look at the field and not just complaining about it, but then doing an analysis, doing their own study and say, okay, you did bird poop. Well, let's do off the shelf. Because bird poop, you might not be able to collect enough of that to make it scale. But I mean, certainly milk. What can we do? What can people at home do? What can all of us do? Let's make it scale. Um, and so they took it to the extreme in order to show that what they were doing was a feint, that it wasn't that everything that is being published, or the majority of things that are being published in their field, are great for publication, and they're great for your publication record. Publish or perish, man. But they're not, and it says, and they're calling out the fact that they think everybody knows this, and no one's actually contributing. They're just going, "Oh, what's this one? How does this one work? How does it work? How work?" When in fact, anything would pretty much work as long as it buffers and doesn't ionize. And that's the situation, and that's what they're calling out, and that, maybe this kind of work, this kind of commentary needs to occur a lot more widely across the research spectrum. Um, I I felt I felt like it was a real call out to a field to do better, and to do better for not performative reasons, but to do better for functional reasons, right? Let's actually do good, which is supposedly the social contract. Yeah. I will share all these links at our website. Yeah, you're gonna need a link. I love this paper. Like I honestly, here, this is the full link. You're asking for it right now. And as I think, oh man, that is a whole long. How many UTMs can I get rid of before I destroy that? Do you want the press package? This is the whole press package email, everybody. Enjoy that. Um, yeah, that's the email link. You can take out your UTMs, or the after the question mark, if you don't want to have your link tracked as to how you came across it. But I think, honestly, I think a fabulous this is a fabulous way to move forward in science. It's the sassy aspect of science, and we need more sass in science, don't we? Yeah, I think we do. Oh my goodness. Does anybody have do you have any questions or any thoughts before we head into the end of the show? Because I've finished my stories and it is time to go. Here, I'm moving into some other places to find some things. Do, 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 do. You need something. You want something else? I thought I talked about enough today. What else do you need? Do you want to ask me questions? I'm happy to answer questions. I am. Nobody wants to ask questions. That's all right. I know it's a rough time and a rough season for everyone, so I hope that you are all doing well. Oh, that's an after show kind of question, but let's see. Gift ideas for a young 10-year-old STEAM girl. Well, what is I have ideas, and I'm blanking on them right now. I'm sure you've looked at them. What was that? There was a whole thing for building things. I mean, it depends on if they are a maker or not a maker, but, um there was a whole you have tremendous needs. Oh, fada. Yes. Let's see, for a 10-year-old girl, oh, I'm interested in this. I'm trying to remember I wonder if the company is still around, but there was a group that had made, um, young girl-oriented engineering kits that were pretty awesome. Um, I'm not remembering the name of it right now. And then it depends. I think it's not if you just STEM, that's too broad, but, like, are they into bugs? Are they into, rocks? Like, what kinds of things are they into? And then you start, are they into they're just finding out that they're clever. Puzzles. Definitely puzzles. Not I wouldn't say engineering building things because that's just following directions, but puzzles, like multi-dimensional puzzles, I would think those will keep a kid busy if they're into it. Like the balls with the mazes on them, but that's more of a hand-eye coordination aspect than actually being clever, but I think it's the clever aspect. If you're just figuring out that you can do stuff, it's being if they are figuring out that they're able to do stuff for the first time, it's testing their wits, right? So, puzzle aspect stuff. If they're into reading, there are some great I've come across some great mail order puzzle thing where it's a game where it starts at a certain time, like, and you get a letter in the mail, and it's got all sorts of clues, and you figure the thing out. Um, but then other things that are making stuff there are some fun chemistry kits, color chemistry. There are some neat light kits also that allow and this I think any kid would love, like, at any age, but that allow you to put filters and prisms in front of lasers and different lights to be able to make rainbows and to adjust light, and that can be very fun. 10 years old is also a great stage to start Arduino kind of stuff, like making, so a breadboard and, like, making lights do things, so, like, starting to, figure out and maybe they're into doing I don't know, cool girl light stuff. So you can do you start with making a light blink and suddenly you have a dress covered in sparkly fairy lights that has been made by this person. So I think Arduino is the basic Arduino stuff if you're willing to invest in that kind of stuff. There's also some cool DNA kits that I think would be cool now. We used to talk about the Odin a bit, and they have some fun stuff where you can like hack DNA and other stuff, but that might be a little bit old for a 10-year-old. I just went down a rabbit hole. I love this kind of stuff. Oh, what did I find here? A Lego Women of NASA building kit. Wouldn't that Patrick, right? Lasers and Arduino. Oh my gosh. I want the Women of NASA building kit. Oh, that'd be a fun present. I like this. I'm seriously going down a rabbit hole, and I have not finished the game yet. Okay. We're finishing the show, everybody. Hmm. Yeah, there is a toy shop on Southeast Hawthorne in Portland that has great science toys. That is a great one. There was another one in Davis, California, too, that had really good ones. Oh, what? I just found a kit a nanotechnology kit to explore the atom. I have no idea if this is good or not. It's only $20, but it looks like such a fun thing. Oh my gosh. I am a fan. I'm down a rabbit hole. Now I need a 10-year-old niece. Okay. I need to make a list for people, because I think there's some great things out there. Some ideas. I think this has set my brain in motion. All right. What was I gonna get to? Oh, right. It is time to talk about the end of the show. Have we made it? I think we've made it to the end of the show. Everyone, thank you so much for being here with me tonight. Thank you for joining me to talk about these amazing, amazing concepts, these ideas, things going on in the world of science. And I really, really would like to, I guess, say thank you to all of you. I have a list of people to say thank you to. It's not what it normally is. I'm trying to make sure I can thank everybody. Hold on. I'm working on this. Come on, download. Oh, it's not working. If I miss your name tonight, I apologize because I am working off of the November list still. I took a great long weekend. But all of you who are here in the chat room, thank you for joining. I appreciate you being here. I love your comments. And it's great talking with you, especially when I don't have co-hosts, because you are my co-hosts tonight. Additionally, thank you to Fada. Thank you so much for your work in social media and the show notes that go along with our YouTube and all the stuff that's involved in that. Really appreciate your help. Identity 4, thank you for recording the show. Rachel, thank you for editing the show. And I guess, everyone who supports us on Patreon, thank you so much. Thank you too. Here it is. Oh, there it is. Aaron Anathema, Adam Mishkan, Alan Viola, Ali Coffin, Andrew Swanson, Artem, Arthur Kepler, Bob Calder, Bob Coles, Brendan Minish, Brian Carrington, Chris Wozniak, Christopher Dreyer, Christopher Rappin, Craig Landon, Craig Potts, Dana Lewis, Daryl Myshak, Dave Wilkinson, David E. Youngblood, Don Munnis, Donald Styles, aka Don Stylo, E.O. Eden Mundell, Eric Knapp, Flying Out, Fredis 104, G. Burton Lattimore, George Chorus, Greg Briggs, Jason Olds, John Atwood, John McKee, John Ratnaswamy, Johnny Gridley, Ken Hayes, Kent Northcote, Kevin Parachan, Kevin Reardon, Kurt Larson, Lon Makes, Lauren Gifford, Mary Gertz, Marjorie, Mark Hessenblow, Noodles, Patrick Pecoraro, Paul D. Disney, Paul Ronovich, Philip Shane, Pierre Velazar, P.I.G., Richard Bad, Robert Norland, Robert Farley, Rodney Lewis, Rudy Garcia, Remy Day, Sean Clarence Lamb, Shu Brew, Stephen Albaran, Steve Leisman, a.k.a. Zima, Sue Doster, Teresa Smith, Tony Steele, and Vegard Shefstad. Thank you so much. Thank you for all your support on Patreon. And if anyone else out there is interested in supporting TWIS in an ongoing fashion, head over to twis.org and click on the Patreon link. That's twis.org and click on the Patreon link to join Patreon and support us in an ongoing way at the level of your choice. Or you can just pick once because they have a one-time thing too. It's the way it works. Oh my gosh, now I have to read the other things without any of my people. What am I supposed to do? Oh my goodness. And I think I closed my window accidentally, so I don't actually know what I'm supposed to say next because I closed it and I don't have a co-host here to back me up. So, ha 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 ha. Here we are now. On next week's show. Oh my gosh, Blair texted me, and I don't think she's going to be back next week either. So I will do what I can to find a co-host for next week. If you have a recommendation for someone who you think can talk about science with me, let me know. Or reach out to them and have them reach out to me, because that could be cool. Makes less work on my part. But anyway, we'll be back next Wednesday. I will be, at least, with somebody at 8 p.m. Pacific time, broadcasting live from our Twitch, YouTube, and Facebook channels. If you want to listen to us as a podcast, just search for This Week in Science wherever podcasts are found. If you enjoyed the show, get your friends to subscribe. Come on, go poke them. Say, hey, you listening to TWIS yet? And then look at their phone awkwardly until they go into whatever their podcast catcher is and go, oh, yeah, well, I can find it for you. What? Oh, you do it yourself? Okay. I'm just playing out scenarios for you here. For information on anything you've heard here today, show notes and links to stories will be available on our website, twist.org. And you can also sign up for Blair's newsletter. No, our newsletter. I still have dreams about being more organized in my life and regularly giving you news about things and my thought leadership, because that's what you want in your inbox. I know it is. Sign up. Sign up today over at twist.org. We love your feedback. And if there is a topic you'd like us to cover, address, potential co-host for next week, suggestion for an interview, let us know on one of our social media accounts or send us an email. If you do, though, yeah, you should put TWIS in the subject line so your email does not get spam filtered into, what did I talk about? Oh, a leopard cat. Yeah. And nobody's playing with leopard cats anymore. So, yeah, no, that leopard cat ate the cardboard box. You're not, that newsletter is not, the email's not getting through. We look forward to discussing science with you again next week. If you learned anything from the show, remember, I'm going to do it right this time, I hope. It's all in your head. It's all in your head. It's all in your head.
This week in science. This week in science. This week in science. This week in science, it's the end of the world. So I'm setting up shop, got my banner unfurled. It says the scientist is in, I'm gonna sell my advice. Show them how to stop the robots with a simple device. I'll reverse global warming with a wave of my hand. And all it'll cost you is a couple of grand. 'Cause this week's science is coming your way. So everybody listen to what I say. I use the scientific method for all that it's worth. And I'll broadcast my opinion all over the earth. 'Cause it's This Week in Science. This Week in Science. This Week in Science. 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 This Week in Science. This Week in Science. This Week in Science. 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 I've got one disclaimer.
Shouldn't be news that this is the after show. Thank you, Gord. Thank you for being here. Thank you, Patrick, Fada. Who else is here? Who else do I see here? I'm looking down the list. We had a whole bunch of people pop in and out. We've got a bunch of Yogi Yamaguchi Gori. I love that name. Kevin Reardon. So many people. David. Yes. Who else do we have here? I'm going to miss some names. Lon Makes. Listen to audio only. Paul Disney. Got all sorts of flying out. Are you still around? I know. Oh no, the end. But it's early. And as we get older, you're probably all thinking, this is kind of nice. It's not going all night. What? I mean, it can be fun to hang out and talk all night. Sometimes the world's problems are solved in the middle of the night. But I do love that you are all here. Hello, Flying Out. Hi, Eric Knapp. Hello. It's interesting. I'm seeing different usernames for people who I know usually have different names on the StreamYard chat side. And I'm wondering here, I'm yawning also. I said it was early, and now my body's like, "No, it's late." Yeah, I'm wondering if did you change your names this week on purpose? Did something happen? Did I miss something? Oh, hmm. Your body is happy about the early, but your brain is not. I understand that dichotomy. Yeah, we can all hold these things inside of ourselves. It's Wednesday. Science, the big science. It's like we reached the peak of science today. Where were we gonna go? What? YouTube was okay, thanks. They do that occasionally, and they're like, "Look what we did. We thought this would be better." Fada, what shows are you going to go watch right now? Every week you tell me that you've got a new episode of something that you need to go watch. What am I missing that is good? Are you enjoying Pluribus? I know it's by the people who are doing Breaking Bad, but I like it, but I don't like it. And I'm having it and it was interesting because I was talking with some friends of mine, and I never watched Breaking Bad all the way through as much as everybody's like, "It's amazing, it's amazing." It just, it just hit in a way that was I wasn't able to sit through comfortably. Sometimes you need to put yourself into discomfort, and I didn't do that, and so I'm just wondering. Yeah. Loot. Is 2nd season good? I got that I have to get more into being uncomfortable with the stories that are being told. So, David, how you like Pluribus? Yeah, I'm not that far in. I'm only like 4 episodes in. And I think it's very interesting, and I love the story, and so I may just stay with it for the story, but I think part of it is that I really I enjoy stories that have characters that you can somehow relate to or that really drive it and drive you forward, and I am trying to like the main character of Pluribus, but she is not happy and not really likable, right? It's like but then I'm like, "Wow, is she me?" No, she's not me, but she might be me a little bit. Um, yeah. It's very interesting, and I have to sit down and watch some more of it, so maybe I'll do that. Fada, you're saying Pluribus is uncomfortable sci-fi, but it's good uncomfortable sci-fi, like Gilliam's Brazil. Brazil was yeah, that's another one where you have to sit there and go, "Okay, this is worth it." This whole experience, it's not episode by episode and little minute by the whole experience is the purpose. Yes. Um, yeah, Breaking Bad was very cringe sometimes, but that was part of it, right? And I think Pluribus does that too very well. Yeah, working through that one. Down Cemetery Road, that's right, it's Wednesday, so there should be a new episode of Down Cemetery Road out. I am enjoying that. That's another one. The first 2 episodes of Down Cemetery Road, I was like, I don't know if I like the way they're telling the story and the characters, man, I wasn't really feeling it, and then it clicked for me, and I'm really enjoying it. So, it still has, like, this very hollow I don't know, there's, like, a hollow emotion to it, like, the characters are all struggling, and so that in itself is very interesting. I think that's what both of Pluribus and Down Cemetery Road are right now, where you don't have characters who are just like, "Yeah, I'm in the middle of a story, and, this was my childhood, and this is who I am," and it's not there's, like, real angst in the characters, maybe? I don't know. Like, okay, Foundation, I really like because the characters, they're all so purpose-driven, I think, and it's like they are leading the story. It's not like the story is leading them, and I think that is kind of like there's a difference there to me in how I connect with the story. Like, the characters have to get me and hold me, and if they don't, and the uncomfortableness is from the characters, I'm like, "I don't like you. In my real life, I would never hang out with you. Why would I watch you on television?" Like, you're full of so much that I can't help you, and you're just gonna keep bringing this around me? I can't. I can't. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I would like to, like, we could sit and drink wine and or whiskey, bourbon, whatever, and we could have a conversation about it, but it's not, that way of being. Yeah, I love the word angst also. It's such a good word. Yeah, it's oh, itchy boots. Oh, okay, that could be fun. I might try that. I like a good motorcycle. That could be better. Ugh. Oh my gosh, you had a 6.0 earthquake? Eric, do you have a house that is, like, specifically built to withstand 9.0 earthquakes? Like, does everybody or, like, are you just all floating on top of the ground with no foundation? Like, I don't understand. I mean, I understand so earthquakes that take place in large population centers, yes, they cause lots of damage because we have buildings that are meant to hold lots of people, and we have infrastructure that is very, not strong enough for that stuff usually. So damage. The Arctic, not as many people. Is the infrastructure more hardened? Is it better? Like, what makes it better? How do you not have damage? I'm curious. Ooh, nice, Patrick. I like it. I mean, 6.0 isn't something that would necessarily cause a lot of damage, but it can in different population centers, and it's just so fascinating that it can happen. Earthquakes happen close to you all the time. I'm always worried about you. I am. Anyway, my friends, let's not have angst. Let us, if not enjoy our situation, be aware of its challenges and its realities, and also where we want to go, who we are. Yeah, do your SWOT analysis for life. Yeah, build for earthquakes. Okay, so Eric is saying we build for earthquakes, buildings built to handle them, strong building codes. Yeah. Okay, I was thinking that must be the situation, and we don't have it everywhere. Mm. Ooh, I did a tight 79-minute show, or is that just including after show? Because that specifically would be less. No, I think I did tight 90. Thank you, Fada. I tried. I'm by mys I keep saying I'm by myself, but I'm with you, and so it makes it all good. Not everywhere has the regulation and the understanding that they need to protect themselves ahead of time to strengthen their infrastructure and their facilities for those threats to come. Some places just, get rid of all sorts of infrastructure and just say, hey, let's just do day by day, yo. Hmm. Let's make strides, everyone. Let's move forward. Let's continue this amazing life we live. where we are, the technology we have, this connection we have is entirely special, unique, and how lucky are we, right? If we were amoebas or whatever, we wouldn't even know what the internet was. And we couldn't talk about this stuff. It would be very different. All right, so Fada, down Cemetery Road, maybe loot. All right, we'll see you later. Everyone, thank you for joining me for the show tonight. I really enjoyed getting to talk with you about my favorite stories from the week. There are so many more out there that I didn't even get to. Thanks, Eric. It's true. I have a view of Mount St. Helens these days, and I go, that one, she already blew her top. We got some more around here. Hi. But it's time for me to say good night. Greetings from Houston, Texas, all the way to Anchorage, Alaska, all the way to wherever you are in the world. Thank you, Patrick. Good night, Kiki. And good night, everyone. Thank you for joining me. May you stay safe, stay thoughtful, stay curious, stay lucky. See you again next week.